English versions. In the earliest days of English Christianity, the only known Bible was the Latin Vulgate, made by Jerome between AD 383 and 405. This could be read only by the clergy and by monks, who alone were familiar with the language. There was no thought as yet of providing ordinary lay folks with the Bible in their own tongue. It was Wycliffe who first entertained this revolutionary idea. It was Wycliffe who first made the whole Bible available in English. John Wycliffe was born in Yorkshire about the year 1320. Wycliffe stands out as one of the most illustrious figures of the 14th century. The outstanding Oxford theologian of his day and an ardent reformer, he is called the Morning Star of the Reformation. He was convinced that the surest way of defeating Rome was to put the Bible into the hands of the common people, and therefore decided to make such a translation available. Under his auspiciousness, the New Testament came out in 1380, and the Old Testament 2 years later. William Tyndale, the next great figure in the history of the English Bible, was born about the year 1494 and spent the 10 years studying at Oxford and Cambridge. And in his projected translation, he tried to get the support of the Bishop of London, but without success. A wealthy London clothes merchant finally came to his support, but after 6 months, in 1524, Tyndale left for the continent because he said there was no place to do it, that is, translate the Bible, in all England. As experienced as now openly declare, never able to return to England, he seems to have visited Luther at Waterberg, and then went on to Cologne, where he found a printer for his New Testament. A priest discovered his plan, and Tyndale was obliged to flee. And Tyndale was found another printer, and there in 1520 in Worms, in 1525, 3,000 copies of the first printed English New Testament was printed. About 1530, 6 editions numbering about 15,000 copies were published. They were all smuggled unto England, hidden in bales and cotton sacks of flour and bundles of flax. So well did Tyndale do his work that the King James Version reproduces about 90% of Tyndale in the New Testament. After the completion of the New Testament, Tyndale started to bring out a translation of the Old Testament from the Hebrew text. But he lived only to complete the first 5 books of the Bible. Jonah, and probably the historical books from Joshua to 2nd Chronicles. After 10 years on the continent, mostly hiding, he was betrayed in Antwerp by an English Roman Catholic and was condemned to death for being a heretic. He was strangled, and his body was burned at the stake. His last words were a prayer. Lord, open the King of England's eyes. But Tyndale was successful in his battle, because large quantities were used in the church and contributed greatly towards creating an appetite for the Bible in English. The government, moreover, began to see the wisdom and necessity of providing the Bible in English for common use. The break with the papacy in 1534 greatly helped in this.